Good evening. Memorial Day. It's a United States holiday observed on the last Monday of May. It was formerly known as Decoration Day. This holiday commemorates U.S. men and women who have died in military service to their country. It began first to honor Union soldiers who died during the American Civil War, and after World War I it was expanded to include those who died in any war or military action. One of the longest standing traditions is the running of the Indianapolis 500, which is based in conjunction with Memorial Day since 1911. It is also traditionally viewed as the beginning of summer by many, for many schools are dismissed around this time of the year. Over the course of this weekend, many people will visit the memorial site of a loved one. Memories of loved ones and special events are special to us. It's through our fondest memories that allows these special people to live on forever, even though they may have passed away some time ago. As the years go by, people move on with their own lives, and the memories that were once thought about every day become things we remember only on certain occasions. It's natural for us to slowly let go of our grip that we have with loved ones who have passed away. The road to recovery is usually a long and difficult one that takes months, perhaps years to travel, and sooner or later, though, we're able to pick up the pieces and move on and live a healthy life. There are times when you might see or hear something or smell something that reminds you of that person, and it causes you to reflect and remember how special that person was to you. Those times are usually very personal and touch your heart in a unique way. Jesus knew what it was like to endure grief. In John 11:32-38, when Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied, and Jesus wept. Although he grieved heavily when his friend Lazarus died, it was for humanity that Jesus grieved the most. The Old Testament prophet Isaiah said, "He was described and forsaken a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and like one from whom men hide their face, he was despised, and we did not esteem him. Surely our griefs he himself bore, and our sorrows he carried. Yet we ourselves esteemed him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted." Jesus grieved for the way that people had abandoned their covenant with God, and for not recognizing the long-predicted arrival of the Messiah in Luke 19:41-44. As he approached Jerusalem and saw the city, he wept over it and said, "If you, even you, had only known on this day what would bring you peace, but not it is hidden from your eyes. The days will come upon you, and your enemies will build an embankment against you and encircle you and hem you in on every side. They will dash you to the ground, you and the children, with your walls. They will not leave one stone on another, because you did not recognize in time of God's coming to you." Perhaps the most graphic and heartfelt grieving that is recorded about Jesus occurred in the Garden of Gethsemane. It was here that Jesus grieved over his own pending death in Matthew 26. "And he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebediah and began to be grieved and distressed. Then he said to them, 'My soul is deeply grieved to the point of death.'" As Jesus prayed to his Father, his sweat became like drops of blood falling to the ground. Nonetheless, it was the will of the Father for Jesus to endure his grief and suffering, so that you and I could be set free from the penalties of sin and burdens. In Galatians 5:1, this is the freedom that Christ has set us free. "Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." In Ephesians 1:7, "In him we have redemption through his blood and forgiveness of sins in accordance with the riches of God's grace." In Hebrews 8:7-13, "For here had been nothing wrong with the first covenant, no place would have been sought for another. But God found fault with the people and said, 'The time is coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel, and with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. It will not be like a covenant I made with the forefathers, when I took them by the hand and led them out of Egypt, because they did not remain faithful to my covenant. I turned away from them. This is the covenant I will make with you, Israel, after that time, declares the Lord. I will put my laws in their minds and write them on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. No longer will a man teach his neighbor or a man his brother, saying, 'Know the Lord,' because they will all know me. From the least to the greatest, where I will forgive their wickedness and will remember for sins no more. By calling the covenant new, he was made the first one obsolete, and what is obsolete and aging will soon disappear." To ensure that we would never forget what Jesus endured on our behalf, he instituted a memorial for us to observe on the first day of each week in Acts 27. And in Matthew 26-29, while they were eating, Jesus took the bread, gave thanks and broke it, and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body. Then he took the cup, gave thanks, and offered it to them, saying, Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink of this fruit of the vine from now until the day when I drink it anew in my Father's kingdom. According to the apostle, when I drink it anew with you in my Father's kingdom, I really can't type today. The church assembled together to observe this important memorial of eating bread and drinking the fruit of the vine. Jesus knew that Memorial Day wasn't established. It was likely that people would soon forget the anguish associated with our salvation. This memorial is an event Christians share with other Christians to remember how special Jesus is and how fortunate we are to have a God who loves us so much. In John 3:16, for God so loved the world, he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him may have eternal life. If you have any needs this evening, if you'd like to give your life to Jesus, we ask that you come forward while we stand and sing.